This video is going to walk you through creating a architectural setup for AutoCAD. So I'm going to start with Imperial Units. I'm going to go to New, choose Open with No Template Imperial, and I'm going to start off with layers. So in my Layer Manager, I'm going to create the following layers: a wall, a door, a glazing, GLZG, short for glazing, a stairs, which would be STRS, because we just got to stay with the four-letter format for the second field, a anno text, annotation for anno's annotation, a anno dims, a anno TBLK for title block, a anno TBLK-text for title block text, a APPL for appliances, a case for casework, a PFix for plumbing fixtures, and then we want an a cent for center lines, a hid for hidden lines, and a viewports layer. So those layers are the ones that you'd want to have at least a minimum of to start a floor plan. If you were also going to be doing details within this, I would also add the following layers. A-DETL-01 for detail layer with line type 01, and we're going to add 01 through 05. So A-DETL-02, A-DETL-03, so those would be the following layers that we'd want to add, including to include all the line weights that we want. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and set up the colors and line types. I'll do that. All right, that was pretty fast. So I've got the colors that I've got applied to each one of the layers. In particular, detail 1 through 5, I've actually selected colors 1 through 5 for that, and then I also have selected line types 0.09, which is as close to 0.1. Detail 2 is 0.2 line weight, detail 3 is 0.3 line weight, 0.4 and 0.5 for detail 4 and 5. The rest of these, you can see the colors or the numbers that I've applied to each one of the layers, and then you can see that I've loaded a line type for center and hidden and made sure that the viewports layer was set to no print. So there's a pretty good starting point for layers for architectural drawings. All right, next I'm going to go ahead and make the wall layer my current layer. Close this, and we're going to set up a layout space for, or actually we're going to set up our units for architectural units. So we've got our layers all set up. Now we want to use units, the units command. Type in UN, hit enter, and then we want to change our units to architectural. And I'm going to go ahead and keep my precision at 1/16 of an inch. Now if I start to draw something pretty big like a floor plan, if I put a rectangle and started it here and said let's make that rectangle or the size of my building at 24 feet by 24 feet, you can see that rectangle goes way beyond the limits, the drawing limits that we have set for this drawing. So I'm going to type in limits, and I'm going to set my limits to something more reasonable for architectural drawings. It's set to 1 foot by 9 inches right now, and it would make a lot more sense if we set this to something, for instance, like 80 feet by 50 feet. And notice I'm putting the foot mark after the 80 and the 50 to make sure that it's read as feet and not inches. Hit enter, nothing happens, but as soon as I type in Z enter and then A enter, we zoom out to our new limits, and we can see a standard size floor plan that way. All right, next I want to take care of my layout. So I want to go to Layout 1, and I'm going to rename this Layout 1 Arc B Size. So now I know this is going to be set up for our Arc B size sheet of paper. This right here is our viewport, which automatically gets created, and this line here that we have is the rectangle that I just drew, or the square I just drew to define the walls in the model space to kind of help me figure out what my limit should be. So this viewport edge here should go on the viewports layer right away, and I'm going to set up this sheet size so it is actually B size. So I'm going to go to Page Setup Manager, click on Modify. I'm going to change the sheet size to DWF6 ePlot, since we're going to do mostly ePlotting. And I want to choose from the list ANSI Full Bleed B 1711. Even though we're making this an architectural B size sheet, we use the ANSI sizes for the plotters since it's a lot more economical. Otherwise, we'd have to use the large format plotters and cut off a lot of paper. So I also want to change this to Plot Style Table Monochrome CTB. You shouldn't have to make any other changes, and that gives us the correct sheet size. Now what I want to do is insert my title block for this sheet. So I'm going to Insert, Browse, go to the R drive, and find the General folder. And then there should be a title block called TB Inch Architectural. Hit Open, and then we'll turn off the Specify on Screen and hit OK, and it should show up exactly where it's supposed to. Now this has attributes, so we can type in some values here or just hit OK, and the values will stay blank until we're ready to fill them in. Now I want to move this viewport up so it's filling in the proper part of the title block. I can get rid of my well, actually, before I get rid of it, let's go ahead and set this to a scale that would be pretty typical. There's 1/4 inch equals a foot scale. And now I can just get rid of my dummy object. Go to Model Space, and I've got a architectural template file set up that has pretty much the essentials so that I could open this up when I have an architectural drawing to work on and get started right away and not have to go hunt these things down. Oh, one other thing we will add, and I'll go over right now, is adding a dimension style, because that would make a lot of sense for us to have that as well. And the dimension style for architectural is slightly different than mechanical. So this is how I would go about it. Type in D to get into Dimension Style Manager. I'm going to create a new dimension style called Arc. Under Lines, the dimension baseline spacing should be 1/4 inch. The extend beyond dim lines and offset from origin should both be 1/16. Symbols and arrows should be set to closed filled for now. We're going to change this to architectural ticks in the next step. Arrow size should be 1/8 inch. I do want to change my center marks to lines, and I want to change the value here to 0.0625 or 1/16 inch. Under text, I want to bring in Roman S, and I want to change the text height to 0.1. Text placement should be centered and horizontal for now. We're going to make changes to that with a child dimension style. Under the fit option, I want to push the arrows out first, and I want to make sure that my scale for dimension features is set to scale dimensions to layout. And then lastly, on primary units, we want to change this unit format from decimal to architectural, and I want to turn off the 0-inch suppression. And now that's our parent dimension style. I'm going to create one child dimension style for linear dimensions, and we are going to make the following changes for linear dimensions. We don't need a center mark symbol. Change our first arrowhead to architectural tick, and it will automatically change the second one. Arrow size should be 1/16 for tick marks. Text should be spaced above the dimension line, and alignment should be aligned with the dimension line for linear dimensions and architectural dimension styles. And that is all that needs to be changed for that. So to recap what we changed the tick marks, the arrow size, turned off our center marks, and then under the text tab we changed the vertical placement to above and text alignment to aligned with dimension line. And nothing else really needs to be changed. Actually, under fit, you may want to turn on draw a dim line between extension lines for the smaller dimensions. And hit OK. Make sure that that arc dimension style is current, and close. Now if you wanted to make this a more thorough dimension style, you could go ahead and create the diameter and radial dimensions, child dimension styles like we did in the mechanical. So now we do truly have a thorough template to start with. I would make for suggestions. What else? The other things I would add to this template is create a layout space for C size and D size, which are typical sheet sizes for architectural. You can create title blocks that fit into those C and D size sheets. You can even start with the B size title block, edit it, and then make it your own, put it in your S drive, and insert it into these layout spaces that correspond to the same sheet size. You can also create blocks that will be useful, like a lumber block and some other types of blocks that you find useful. You can, if you think about it for a little while, for instance, a window symbol, a door symbol, things like that. This video is just to show you how to create a basic template. In the following video, I am going to demonstrate some symbols that would be useful to create in this template as well.